Good evening, everyone. So I'm Sarah Litchke, and Dave asked me to share my faith story. And to be perfectly honest, my first reaction was, why? Don't you want somebody who, shows up every Sunday and has got this stuff figured out? But then I got to thinking about how the majority of the characters in our Bible are kind of messed up. And God uses people going through things who aren't perfect to share with others. So I said, fine. Pretty much along those lines, fine. So I was baptized Methodist, went to Sunday school periodically, church, vacation Bible school, did confirmations through that church, kind of on and off throughout the years. When we moved here, I would say within a year or two, I started attending church with a friend of mine at a rather fundamentalist church, and I will say that that has caused some struggles in my faith life. And I'm still working on breaking down those walls today to really see that those churches and those people still offer amazing, fantastic things. One of the interesting things with that is I have always known that God loves everybody and reaches everyone in different ways, and that nobody goes to hell. So that was probably one of my biggest issues with that. It was not my job to save the world. God had already done that. So I'm still working at being open to that avenue of belief. That being said, after high school, I didn't do much. I went to a Catholic school, didn't really do anything with the church part. But after I graduated college, moved back home the spring, I'll say, before my husband and I got married, our home, my family's home, burned down. And there was a grief group here that I believe my mom came to, and we came and visited here. And the first time I walked in these doors and sat down, I felt like I was at home. I knew that this was where I had been meant to go and belong at. So once I started being part of this church, I went through, all the initial things, the blood draw, everything. No, I'm just kidding. Once we became official members, I got what I like to think of as hyper involved. I was in choir, I served on the welcome board, I chaired a serving committee, I served on the council and the call committee. A lot of that, as I had kids, I went, nope, I'm all done. However, being part of those things was fantastic, and being on the call committee brought me an amazing friend in Megan, who I still miss, but I'm glad she's trying new things. But it was so fun to be a part of every aspect of her becoming part of this church. From meeting her very, very first time when I was about this much pregnant and going, there's not a lot of people our age, so you can call me if you need a friend. But the other part of being on council here is that it really gave me a really good understanding of what it means to run a church, an understanding of the finances, the heating bills, everything, the things that we don't think about when we're sitting in the pews here. So I'm really grateful to have had that background and to really appreciate what our council members do and how much time they put in to making sure our church is successful. The other big part for me, and I might get choked up, I'll try not to, is that being on council gave me the opportunity to go to a synod assembly, which is an amazing experience in and of itself. But probably the most impactful moment in my faith happened at our Synod Assembly. And we were doing a class called Visio Divina. So we had the opportunity to use the St. John's Bible, which, if you haven't seen it, is this amazingly beautifully illustrated Bible. And then you focused on the art while the Bible reading was being read to you. And then after a couple times of that, you closed your eyes and focused just on the Bible reading. And generally, classes and things like that, I'm sort of paying attention. You know, once you close your eyes, meditation, not my skill. But here I am. I was probably 3 or 4 months pregnant with my son, so my first child on the way. Just trying to be really open, listening to it. No idea what the Bible reading was, by the way. But I suddenly heard what I have only heard once, and that was God saying, "Trust me." And I have never actually heard God's voice other than that one time. But it was really powerful, and in the same breath, I tend to forget it a lot, and I don't trust a lot, and I let that slide. And so doing this was a really great remembrance that the one and only time God got through was to say, "Trust me." So as I've moved throughout life, I go back to that and really just try to embrace that God's got my back and to trust him. As I was thinking about this, I felt like sometimes I find myself treating God like your obligatory great uncle who you care about and you love, but they're kind of on the back burner. Like, they're always there and you care about them. But sometimes it's so easy when life is going well to not focus on God and not reach out. So this has really helped me reevaluate, reaching out to God, and because things are going well right now, which is fantastic, because I have definitely had times where they weren't. I would say 4 or 5 years ago was probably the peak time of me struggling with anxiety. It was a really hard time in my life, and I remember sitting in the parking lot of Cub Foods, Googling anxiety-Bible verses. And the one that popped out to me and really hit a chord, and I go back to it often, and Nancy read it earlier, is Isaiah 41:10, which is, "Do not fear, I am with you. Do not be anxious, I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand." So once again, the things that seem to hit a real chord for me is to trust that God's got it. Trust God, he's got me. So that is one of the few, actually, Bible readings that pop out as like a necessary thing for me to read every once in a while and just remind myself that. Throughout my life and throughout my faith journey, my core beliefs about God have always been there, while my beliefs about the Bible and religion have been challenged and are fluid and are always changing. But I have always known that God is there, that God loves me, and that everyone is going to heaven because God has already given us grace. So it's just kind of interesting that even through times where I was with the church that doesn't necessarily teach that same thing, that never changed. It's really nice for me. I have family and friends, and we all walk our beliefs on different paths. Some of us are within Christianity, some are not, and I think that's fantastic. I think that Jesus walks down whatever path we need him to get to us, whether or not that fits within Christianity or not. I know that God finds everybody. I don't have concerns or doubts about that. I've always really felt that God takes care of me. Things just always work out okay for me, and I really feel like that is a blessing that God has given me and my family. Sometimes I wonder why, because I'm not doing all of the things that we're supposed to be doing. I don't remember to read my Bible. Sometimes it's months before I get back to church on Sunday. But God's just always been there, supporting me and taking care of me. So obviously one of the hardest times was a year and a half ago when my dad died. And I was not angry with God. I was kind of surprised. I sort of expected to be. But reflecting on that, I realized that I wasn't angry with God because God didn't do it. God did not take him because heaven needed another angel. God didn't do that because it was meant to be. But God has been there with us and with him this whole time. And I know it. I can feel it, and I've been able to have dreams that I felt like were more than just dreams, where God was letting me know that he was okay. And that's amazing to me. Like, I expected a lot more anger. Anger at God, anger at the other driver who made a mistake. And mostly I just feel bad for them. And I'm working on just forgiveness in that area. I don't know how to segue out of that one, so I'm just going to go with the other fantastic thing for me is seeing my little ones be here and learn about God and Jesus and songs, and to know that they're loved no matter what, and to see that they have become part of this place, and that they feel welcome enough to, whenever I come in here, that they're typically up here playing church. Excuse me. So it's amazing to see them be part of that and to not have to doubt that God loves them. And I feel really, really blessed by God. He has blessed me with amazing parents and family who raised me, and an amazing husband, and amazing kids, and amazing in-laws, and amazing friends. And we have a beautiful home, and we have food, and this amazing community of support. And I just really feel like those are all gifts from God, and I'm so, so grateful for those. So I wish I could end in some amazingly profound thing that impacts all of you. But I don't have it. I'm grateful. I found this to be a good thing to do, even though I really didn't want to, because I don't like talking in front of people. Thanks, Dave. But yeah, that's the core of my journey. And while I have really struggled with some beliefs, my belief in God never wavered. So I guess that's what I will end in, is that I always knew that God was there and God loved me, and that God was taking care of me. So thank you for asking me to do this, even though I didn't want to at first.